Sorry, y'all, my video got cut off. But they still, they still was, they still was demonic. They still was demonic type people that had a sense of control and manipulation, and they just wanted to lock us in low key because once we got our shit together, once we would, well, first of all, we was in that house. First of all, the house was just dark, and there wasn't no cable or anything. It was just a house, an extra house. It was an extra house that they had. So it really wasn't no TV. It really wasn't no, it was just a house that had just electricity without a TV, just for us to just, get back on our feet so we can, move on. But we didn't tell them that we was going to move on either. You know, they thinking that we still trying to be in this group thing. We still trying to, get our music popping. But for me and the other members' mindset, we wasn't trying to do that shit. We was so tired that we was just trying to like find, save up money to get an apartment. That was the whole plan. And this is when we moved to Long Beach. That was the last place that we lived at, that we moved to. And we was there for like a year and some change. Yeah, I hope I make sense during this story because there's so much that happened, and this video is not rehearsed at all. This video is just playing out, just telling this shit just by ear, just telling this shit just from scratch. And I felt like I needed to tell this story in order to help out other people, like I always do. So, um, so the last day of us being in, being in that house, the last house that we was in, this is when we told the people that helped us out. We this is the last day that we told them that we are moving to Long Beach. We got our own apartment and we are good. We cleaned up the house. We did everything good. Even though that house, I felt like it was dark spirits in that house. And I felt like it was just a whole mess. It really wasn't no upgrade. It really wasn't nothing new, prior to the mom and the son house that we was in Sylmar. It really wasn't no difference. The only difference is that we was escaping the mom. We was escaping her and her demonic son as well because he was tortured as well. So when you tortured for that long by a person, you become the person that tortured you. So yeah, and it was a lot of sneakiness still going on as well. There was a lot of sneakiness going on because, like I said, they were trying to control and still manipulate us low key. But this is why we told them the last minute that we was moving because I felt like they would have tried to kept us hostage. They probably would have pulled a move, that we wouldn't know of. So this is why we told them the last minute. And I'm glad that we did. So yeah, this is when we moved to Long Beach. This is when we moved to Long Beach. Mm, mm, mhm. Yeah, so that's really the end of that whole crazy story. I just wanted to belt that out and share what happened. Share what happened. Share what happened because that shit was just insane. And just me and the other member, we moved to Long Beach, but that was another experience by itself. That's when I still was smoking weed heavy. This is when I, had a spiritual awakening, because I still going through all of that shit that I went through. I was having dark moments. I was having dark dreams. I started seeing, I was going in a dark spiritual realm. I feel like you got to go through the dark to get to the good. And this is when I still was going through the dark. I still was going through the dark. I ain't have too many people to talk to either. I relied on weed. And it was a very dark moment. It was still dark moments once we moved to Long Beach. And this is when one day I never told nobody this. The only person that know is the member that I moved with, the other member that I moved with. It felt like I had a near-death experience, or more of like it was more like a near-death experience, or a spiritual, you would call it a spiritual awakening, but then again, I would call it like it's like my old self was leaving for something else to enter me, for something good to enter me, for me to be woke, for me to, to have a better picture on my life. The only reason why I said it was like a near-death experience is because my whole body shut down. My whole body shut down completely. It started from my toes and it was going up to my face. And then once it hit to my eyes shut. And all I saw was black. And then I popped up. I popped right up. Probably like I don't even know how long. I know I just popped up out of bed and I was like, woo! Like I was just woo, that was crazy. That was crazy. To even, and this is when I said enough is enough. I'm done with California. I'm done, because like I said before, I believe that that's where the most demons are. Not saying that every state has their own amount of demons, which they do, but California, that's where the most demons are. This is when I got fed up. This is when I told, the person I was in a relationship with, which was the other member, I told him that I'm done. I told him that, I'm just done. And I said that this is when I made the decision to just go home to Philadelphia. Not even back to Las Vegas, because if I knew I went back to Las Vegas, which I didn't have any family there either, I knew that I still would be fighting. I probably would be like, it just wasn't right to go to Las Vegas by myself, at the time. This is when I had to come home, to really get my shit together. I moved home 2019, January 1st. Yes, January 1st. It was rough in the beginning. I had to go through another experience, like I explained in my previous video, my self-love video, that I had to go through another experience when I came home, which I did. But now that I got my own place and my own apartment, I'm grateful, because I felt like I got another chance at life. And this is when I said that, since I'm spiritually awakened, this is when I realized that I'm just here to just be my authentic self, to help out others be them, to be their authentic self, and to help them, get out of the dark. And to just to observe, just to become an observer. That's my purpose. To be my authentic self, to observe, and to help others. That's it. And God is doing the rest for me. He is doing the rest for me. I have to do the work, but he's also working with me. And I'm completely grateful that out of all that shit done happened, out of everything that happened, I'm still here and I'm standing tall by myself. By myself. Because that was 3 years. You put all that together, it wound up to 3 years. That was 3 years of hell. That was 3 years of hell until I made the decision and I was like, I'm done. I can't take no more. I'm done. That was it. So to this day, I'm good. I'm doing good. I'm in solitude. I'm doing my self work, my self care. Everything is good for me right now. I'm fine. I'm really doing well. I'm really doing well. And this is when I got really close to God. I really start to realize that He really had my back. He really had my back just the way I am, just me being who I am, you know? He know who I am. He know everything about me. And he still is there for me, you know? So yeah, that was it, y'all. That was it. Peace, y'all.